Hey everybody, Jeremy Siskind here. I'm the author of Jazz Piano Fundamentals and playing solo jazz piano. And actually today, I'm not really talking to you about improvising or playing solo jazz piano or voicings. I'm coming to you with a jazz composition tip. I think it'll be of interest to a lot of you because I know, it's kind of part of the jazz tradition that if you're going to play, you should also compose. Because composing is just like more thoughtful, slower improvisation. But composing can be more daunting because you have to spend a lot of time thinking, how do you start? How do you end? How do you know if your tune's good enough? And so I have a composition process that you might not have thought of that I feel like is pretty fun and gives you a lot of hints about where to start and where to end. It's not very open-ended. So let's take a look, and I'm going to show you a tune that I wrote using this composition process. So the way that this is going to work is your step one is you're going to reharmonize an existing tune. So you're going to add new chords to a tune that already exists. And then step two is you're going to take those new chords and you're going to write your own melody. So now you've replaced the chords and you've replaced the melody. You have a brand new tune. But it will probably still have some sort of a relationship to the tune that you reharmonize, right? It'll have, for instance, probably the same number of measures. It might even have the same form. If the original tune was AABA, then your new tune is probably going to be AABA. Maybe not. We'll see. So I'm going to show you how I did this and the resulting tune. So here we go. So I took the tune I Could Have Danced All Night and reharmonized it. Why I chose this tune, I can't remember. I've always liked My Fair Lady. I think the music is pretty good. And the ink here is my reharmonization, but I've written in blue kind of the original chord. So if you're not familiar with this tune, I'm going to play some version that's, maybe close to the original version. It can be a little bit cheesy sounding if we're not careful. Get to the bridge, which does an interesting little modulation. So it starts there at measure 17. Stay, boy, stay. Actually, the original tune would have a couple more bars where we would resolve. I could have danced all night. Right. Okay, so that's the original tune. I'm going to clear off these blue changes now. And, I decided to add a little bit more mystery to this piece. And so I added a lot of minor 4-to-1 progressions to kind of, get off. It sounds so declarative. I could have danced all night, right? So instead, I'm going to kind of pull the rug out under. And, I made all these moments, like you'll see, here, for instance, where the harmonies kind of fall a little bit in the cracks, right? You wouldn't normally have a B natural on an F minor 7 chord. Or here, where you have a B natural in the melody at the end against a G minor 7 chord. So I wanted to find some moments that made it feel really mysterious. So see what you think. You can't really tell me. I guess you can tell me in the comments. But you can't hurt my feelings right now, so you can hurt them later. Okay, we're back at that same bridge at bar 17. So yeah, say what you want. It's definitely a lot more mysterious. It's a lot more open-ended, and it mostly comes from using this minor 4 to 1 progression, which is just always kind of fun. By the way, and this is kind of a side note to this whole conversation, but there's a scale that goes with this progression, going from minor 4 to 1. So like from F minor to C major. We call it the harmonic major scale. If you've never heard this scale, it's basically the major scale, but with a flat 6. So the bottom half, the first 4 notes or so, are like the major scale. The top half is like the harmonic minor scale. That's why we call it the harmonic major scale. Now, some of you might be thinking of Barry Harris's major bebop scale, but this one does not have the natural 6. It's just a normal 7-note scale. So if you find the situation where you're improvising over a minor 4 to 1, this is a really lovely scale to use. Same thing I would say if you're improvising over a 2 half diminished to a major 1. So like D half diminished and C major. So this is a great progression for when you're dipping a little bit into the parallel minor, right? We're taking a subdominant chord, an F minor, a D minor, a 4, or a 2 from the parallel minor of C major. Now, one thing I want to point out here, and I told you this a little bit at the beginning, is that I cut 2 measures off of the end of the tune. So instead of, really resolving it and then going back to the beginning, I thought, let's make a cycle out of this. Let's make it feel like it never ends. And then it goes back to the beginning, right? And this works so well, or I think it works well. Maybe you hate it, that's fine. But it works, in my opinion, because the beginning melody note matches the last melody note, right? We would resolve to a C at the end, and we start with a C. So because there's this kind of cyclical nature, because those 2 notes are the same, we can join those ends in the middle. Okay, so now I've got brand new chords to work with. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to strip away that melody and write my own melody. And I did this, and I actually recorded it. I think I can show you on this album, which is called Simple Songs for When the World Seems Strange. This is an old album, man. This was my first album that was actually like on a label. And the first track is this track called Venice. And I wrote this based on this reharmonization of I Could Have Danced All Night. And when I went to Venice, I don't know if any of you out there have been to Venice, but it's this mysterious city. It's so enchanting. And I thought that it kind of reminded me, and it felt very similar to the way that these chords feel. And I wanted this melody to feel the same way, to kind of fall into some of those same cracks as the melody of I Could Have Danced All Night does, because of all of the interesting little in-between notes that come, in that progression. Even using that harmonic major scale, which is kind of I guess I'd call it the most appropriate scale, there's all these notes that fit with one chord but not the other. So here's the melody I ended up writing. You could like it, you could hate it. I don't really care. I hope you like it, I guess. into some solos over that progression. So this melody is certainly less organized than that melody of I Could Have Danced All Night, right? If you look at and listen to that melody of I Could Have Danced All Night, it's very much pattern-based. Each section starts the same way. It's very motivically satisfying. It's just, beautifully written. My melody is a little bit more wandery. It's a little bit more free-flowing. And again, you might like that, you might not. But, it just kind of, I found some places where I felt like the progression spoke to me, and I wrote this new melody over it. And so now what I've got from this process is I've got a brand new chord progression. It's never been heard before. I've got a brand new melody that's never been heard before. So I ended up writing my own tune. But unless I told you here, you never ever would have figured out that it was written on, based on I Could Have Danced All Night. But that's the fun part about this activity, is that you get this, organization to your tune that keeps it feeling like it has a clear beginning, middle, and an end. So I really encourage you to try this. Feel free to send me the tunes that you write. Maybe I'll try to guess what tune you wrote it based on. Check out that track Venice. It's a long time ago, and I feel like I rushed a lot more then, but hopefully, it still feels a little bit enchanting. And lastly, of course, best way to support the channel: like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends, and buy these books: Playing Solo Jazz Piano Fundamentals, filled with amazing ideas. And I'll see you around here soon. Bye-bye.